This administration is killing Americans. I don't care what state you're from. You could be from Louisiana, you could be from California. This administration is killing Americans. Just think about how impossible it has been to raise the minimum wage in America in 10, 15, 20 years. We can't even raise the minimum wage. Do Republicans really think that this stuff is going to happen? No, they don't. They're trying to scare people because they don't want us talking about the fact that we all have a right to healthcare in this country. So they want to call it communist, and they want to call everything they don't like communist, because if people actually wake up to the fact that their elected officials are screwing them over when they get here, then they're going to realize that they deserve better.
Keep it 100, I be feeling like Campbell soup over white rice, baked chicken with the skin on, yeah, Lowry's with black pepper, I'm fully seasoned with laughter.
What's up, y'all? So AOC, she absolutely destroyed the Republicans on Capitol Hill. So I want you to take a look at this and then we'll discuss.
They can do what they want. I'm not here to be the belief police around here.
But isn't there concern that, this slippery slope towards socialism inevitably ends up as full-blown communism? I mean, no?
I'm not concerned about America turning into a communist country. It's like a year that it's like, I think that is, I think it's very silly. You just think about how impossible it has been to raise the minimum wage in America in 10, 15, 20 years. We can't even raise the minimum wage. Do Republicans really think that this stuff is going to happen? No, they don't. They're trying to scare people because they don't want us talking about the fact that we all have a right to healthcare in this country. So they want to call it communist, and they want to call everything they don't like communist, because if people actually wake up to the fact that their elected officials are screwing them over when they get here, then they're going to realize that they deserve better, and that healthcare is a right isn't crazy. It isn't pie in the sky. They want to call this stuff communist because they don't want us to realize that the rest of the developed world has guaranteed healthcare in this country. So they want to call it communist because they don't want you to know that Germany, Italy, the UK, Canada, everybody else has it better than us, and we spend the most amount of money for the worst care in the modern developed world.
Talk your shit, AOC. Talk your shit. So I'm glad that she laughed off the absolutely ridiculous questions by the reporter where we transitioned slowly from a socialist to a communist country, and her bringing up the fact that we haven't been able to raise the minimum wage. And I think the last time the minimum wage was raised was in 2006 under George Bush. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was, I think it's $7.25 raised from 6 something or 5. No, it was $5.25 before. I believe it raised up to $7.25 under Bush in 06. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we didn't receive a federal minimum wage increase under Obama. But that's absolutely stupid, thinking that we're going to go from a capitalist country where we go so hard to profit off of everything that we're willing to let hundreds of thousands of people die a year instead of giving them proper health care, to a complete communist country. So it's so silly to think that we're going to transition from where we are now to a communist country. And the thing is, these people Republicans and their politicians and the elite in the Republican Party, and even the Democrats to an extent, they say things like this because they know that their voters are idiots, and if you say anything that ends in "ist," they're going to get scared. Communists, socialists, Marxists, they're going to be terrified, like, oh, it's scary words because I didn't learn any of that in school, and they're going to be scared. And you just label anything that any of those ists, they're going to automatically get scared. And to think we're going to go from a capitalist, extreme capitalist oligarch nation that we are right now to communist is just laughable. So, and they really don't understand the differences between these different ideologies and systems. So capitalism is what we live in now. Arguably corporatist or an oligarchy is what we live in America right now. But to go from that it has to, you would have to go from that to becoming then a social democratic state, which believes in capitalism still, but heavily regulated, and where people would have an actual welfare state in the floor, where if you struggle, you're not going to be out on the street, to then a democratic socialist nation, which believes in transition towards socialism, but democratically, to socialism, which uses the state to publicly redistribute wealth to the lower classes and make things more equal, all the way to communism, which would be stateless, classless. So you really think that we're going to go from an ultra capitalist nation, which has a bigger income wealth disparity than the Gilded Age, to communism? Like, are you stupid? And the thing is, Republicans, they know that their voters are that stupid, so they're instantly going to fall for it. So years ago, the Republican Party, so former Supreme Court Justice John Lewis, he wrote a memo about how he was worried that Americans are becoming way more educated, and the more educated Americans are, they're going to start to be against capitalism. So one of his solutions to that was to, one, start pushing pro-business propaganda, because he knew that there's no way you can be educated and you're an average person and be pro-capitalist. He knew and understood that. So by pushing a pro-capitalist agenda in school, that would somewhat combat that, as well as the Republicans. Their plan for decades was to defund and destroy education, because it's easy to brainwash someone in this capitalist system when you don't have the education to actually understand how it's destroying your life. So that has been the Republican plan for decades, and it's clearly been working, because we can't get something as basic as universal health care when the entire world has it right now. So let's watch another clip.
When your platform has also getting rid of the Supreme Court and getting rid of the presidency and restructuring
They're
the
having
government.
a party, aren't they, over there? They're having a blast. They're having a good time.
What do you think about the Supreme Court reform?
Sorry.
One of your colleagues tells me DSA is a communist organization. What do you make of that? How those words are used interchangeably on the right?
Just don't care. I think these folks call everyone they don't like a communist. I think that America is a free country. You know, they're out here palling around with whoever they want to pal around with. So what? Like, people can do what they want. I'm not here to be the belief police around here.
So it's actually more than that. They're not just saying, these people are communists just to combat free speech. They're actually saying that because Republicans, the one thing they understand that Democrats don't, is they understand branding. The communism has been branded bad, socialism has been branded bad for decades. So they know that if we can put the label of communist or socialist on anybody, because of the Red Scare, McCarthyism, that the American people, especially since they're not very well educated, especially since the U.S. government has done everything possible to try to make socialism fail, that if they can brand the Democrat as socialist or communist or anything that's not capitalist, that they can make them lose. So one thing that the Democrats need to understand themselves is branding. I'm going to get more into that later. They have to brand the Republicans. I'm going to get into that later. But let's watch another clip.
Over $1 billion worth of Medicaid funds specifically to California and Minnesota. I'm wondering what you think of that singling out, and also that maybe they have an excuse for it, but there are a bunch of people who will lose their health care for that.
This administration is killing Americans. I don't care what state you're from. You could be from Louisiana, you could be from California. This administration is killing Americans. They are killing people by taking away their health care. They are killing women by having them bleed out in parking lots. They are killing seniors by imposing cuts to Medicaid and to Medicare recipients. And they want this to be about where you're from or who you are, but the fact of the matter is, they are for United Healthcare. They are for, all of these, big pharma. They are for these corporations, and they are cutting your healthcare, and they're trying to divide us all by geography, region, state, identity, but that's not what it is. They're here to kill people. This is what these policies do. They kill people. You can't get your chemotherapy. You can't get your long-term care. You're bleeding on a parking lot because your doctor is not allowed to provide you a life-saving abortion when you're having a pregnancy complication, and they don't care. They don't care. And it is one of the most horrifying realities that we're just living with day to day. You go to a pharmacy and your prescription is too expensive to fill. And kids are being told to ration their asthma inhalers, and this administration wants to pretend that this is about being a Californian or being whatever it is. This isn't. This is about being a working class person in America. This administration has imposed and created a class warfare in this country where if you're poor, you don't deserve to live. That's what this is about. And increasingly, not even if you're poor, if you're working class or middle class. It's just horrible. And we have to be able to reverse this $1 trillion in healthcare cuts that this administration and this Republican Party has imposed and get people's the most basic human right and element of dignity, which is the ability to see a doctor without going bankrupt.
Congresswoman, what's your response to the...
Shout out to AOC again for being straight up. Her just flat saying the Republicans are murdering people, because that's exactly what they're doing. Imagine a Democratic president doing what Donald Trump does, or what the Republicans do in general, trying to punish specific states. Like that's completely demonic. And even if doing something like that, there's Republicans in every single state. You'll also punish other Republicans because that specific state didn't vote for you, which is completely dumb. So the Republicans in the blue state, they should just never be Republicans because the Republicans are saying, fuck you. But you're okay with them saying that because Republicans are not, honestly, they're not very smart. Republicans aren't smart. Statistically speaking, Republicans are much dumber. But I agree with everything AOC said there. And I want to go a little bit further on how they're killing people with deregulating PFAS chemicals, which is causing cancer, cutting childhood cancer research for children, cutting the National Weather Service, which led to thousands of people dying or at least hundreds of people dying in that Texas flood and then other places. And then also ICE literally killing people in the street. So AOC is 100% correct when she said that the Republican Party are murdering people. And they're intentionally killing people through every way that she said, through Medicare cuts, through forcing people to ration medicine, and also through ways I mentioned, and many other ways that I didn't mention as well. The Republican Party is demonic. So let's continue.
Or just do another update. If he can't give us an update, he should resign. Absolutely.
In addition to the one he sent out about a week and a half ago.
I think it's been very clear to people across Kentucky that his update was not sufficient. And, I don't know if he has a conversation with a journalist. I don't know if he has a conversation with the governor. I don't know what his staff are doing. But we have a responsibility to the American people. We're seeing increasingly these votes are being decided by a 1 or 2 vote margin. And if you're not capable of, not only not capable of doing the job presently, but we need to know if you're capable of doing the job for the foreseeable future. And that I think is tremendously important.
So Mitch McConnell is dead. We all know that. They're waiting until August 3rd or 4th so they don't have to actually fill the seat, because if they were to fill the seat, then Thomas Massie could possibly run for his team. He'd likely win. So, but Mitch McConnell is dead. AOC just doesn't want to be crass, but I don't care. He's dead. He's gone. But the thing that pisses me off about the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is I used to say this more than a decade ago, and people used to always push back against me saying this, and now it seems that many people agree with me now because it's obvious. But it was honestly obvious. It was way obvious back then, at least to black people, that the Republican Party. So The Democratic Party are 1918 or 1980 The Democratic Party are 1980 Republicans, and Republicans are terrorists. And it's been that way for quite a long time. And if you think that this is something that happened under Donald Trump, look at any time a black person got killed. Look at all the policy. Look how Republican commentators will act any time a black person got killed prior to Donald Trump coming in office. This isn't something new. And Democrats also been problematic in these. Someone like Joe Biden been very problematic in terms of the crime bill. But every single Republican pushed for policies such as that. Some Democrats at least were against things like that. But when I say the Democrats are 1980 Republicans, the current Democratic Party, and Republicans are terrorists, branding is so important. The Republican Party needs to be branded as a terrorist organization, terrorist party, because they are. And then also, here's the thing. Ronald Reagan, so in 1982, I believe, the Prime Minister of Israel, they bombed Lebanon, West Belarus. And they bombed it for 11 straight hours. Or 12 straight hours, they bombed West Belarus. And Ronald Reagan called what the Prime Minister at the time, I believe his name was it's spelled like Begin, but it's not said that way. But it's pronounced some weird way. But the Prime Minister of Israel at the time, Ronald Reagan, called out what he is doing, and he called it a Holocaust. Oh, that's so sad. The right wing, the ultra right wing Republican who completely fucked up the country, he was willing to call what Israel was doing in West Belarus a Holocaust, but most Democrats today refuse to say that Israel's committing a genocide. The current Democratic Party, I said that they're 1980 Republicans. In some ways, they're further right than 1980 Republicans. Can you believe that? And it's accurate to say that in 1980 Republicans, because someone like Ronald Reagan, he believed in climate change. I believe he invented created the EPA, or it might have been Richard Nixon. So either Richard Nixon or Ronald Reagan created EPA because they wanted to protect the environment. The Democrats are not a party protecting the environment. The Republicans are destroying everything possible. And then other ways that the Democrats are now 1980 Republicans, I want you to take a look at this video. And it shows how far both parties have shifted to the right, how far the Overton window has moved over time. Because Ronald Reagan would be considered a left-wing lunatic with this take right here. So take a look at this.
Rather than making them or talking about putting up a fence, why don't we work out some recognition of our mutual problems, make it possible for them to come here legally with a work permit, and then while they're working and earning here, they pay taxes here. And when they want to go back, they can go back, and they can cross and open the border both ways by understanding their problems. This is the only safety valve right now they have with that unemployment that probably keeps the lid from blowing off down there.
Did you hear that? You hear what Ronald Reagan just said? Have an open border so they can come back and forth and work in the U.S. Ronald Reagan today will be considered, at least on that stance, a left-wing lunatic. He'd be further left than the vast majority of Democrats, almost every single Democrat in office, including many DSA candidates. He'd be considered further left than them. So when the Democratic Party is to the far right of Ronald Reagan on anything, we have a problem. We have a problem, but the Overton window has shifted so far right that it's completely broken. And if you compare what Ronald Reagan said in that clip compared to someone like Kamala Harris campaigning, saying that we're going to have the strongest border, we're going to have the strongest, the best border security. The only reason why we didn't deport more immigrants is because Donald Trump behind the scenes, he blocked the border bill. He told Republicans not to vote for it.
And let me be clear, after decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border. Last year, Joe and I brought together Democrats and conservative Republicans to write the strongest border bill in decades. The Border Patrol endorsed it. But Donald Trump believes a border deal would hurt his campaign. So he ordered his allies in Congress to kill the deal. Well, I refuse to play politics with our security, and here is my pledge to you. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law.
So Democrats are bragging about being super right-winged on the border. Donald Trump is deploying ICE, his ICE Gestapo, to come into people's homes and illegally kidnap people, whether they're here, whether they're documented here or not. That's what Donald Trump is doing. And Kamala sounds not that far from Donald Trump. And Joe Biden, not that far from Donald Trump. With Ronald Reagan to the left of them. How insane is that? So let's play another video.
Are on this general crackdown on dissent.
Well, I mean, I think this administration does not want the public to be exposed to the realities of the decisions that they're making, and they want to crack down on First Amendment free speech rights. We've seen this across a lot of different topics and categories, not only from, for example, pro-Palestinian activism, but even the labeling of opposition to data centers is starting to get flagged as activity that merits intelligence monitoring by this administration. And you just have to put one and one together here. One of the largest donors to Donald Trump is ChatGPT and AI facility and people who own AI companies. And now they're starting to kind of crack down on everyday Americans who are concerned about data centers being built in their backyard as almost terrorist activity or something like that. And I think it's very, very concerning to every American.
So yeah, isn't that insane that Republicans are labeling people who are against data centers? So data centers, they cause a lot of noise within the community, and there's studies that they can cause cancer. And they're building them everywhere because they're trying to, expand the AI revolution and take everyone's jobs from everybody and give all the super elite all our money while everybody's broke, destitute, and broken. That's what they want for society. They think there's not going to be a revolution. But apparently, a lot of Republicans are willing to vote against Republicans who support data centers. I've been seeing a bunch of polling on that, but we'll see. I don't believe anything Republicans say until they do it, because a lot of these Republicans, they say things like they were upset with Donald Trump after January 6th. They were upset with Donald Trump for doing this. They're upset with Donald Trump for doing this, and then a couple of days later, they're back on these doing mouth tricks with Donald Trump. That always happens. So I don't believe anything Republicans say, because these people aren't honest people, and these people aren't principled people. So yeah, AOC, she was spot on with everything that she said, and it's insane that people who are against data centers can be labeled as terrorists. But should anybody be surprised? I'm sure not. So let's finish off this video.
Trump, Republicans continue, they will use the word communism over and over again. They'll say that don't call it democratic socialism. How do you see it? Do you think that the use of the word communism over and over again has been effective in terms of going up against the DSA?
I mean, I think that, so the administration has rather openly admitted that they are seeking to usher in a new McCarthyism for this era. Their only way in a time of deep unpopularity is to try to stoke fear and new conspiracies. And so they're trying to inject conversations about communism in order to scare people. But at the end of the day, the thing that's most important are the policies that we believe in. I believe in guaranteeing health care to every American. I believe in raising the minimum wage. I believe in strong unions. And so, yeah, you know, if a Republican wants to call a stronger union communist, they're more than welcome to do that. I'm not going to be deterred.
Yeah, so that was a great answer by AOC. If they want to call the good things communism and socialism, do positive propaganda for socialism and communism, Republicans. We're not complaining about that. If you want to call giving people health care, having people be paid more at a job, things like lowering price of groceries, no wars, if you want to call things like that communism, be my guest. Be my guest. Please do it. Everything good, label it communism. Keep doing that, please. Do that. Anything bad, label it capitalism. Keep doing that and see where it's going to get you. But that's all I got to say for today. I appreciate y'all watching, but I got to leave y'all with one more thing before the video is over, and that's the word of the day. The word of the day for today is nescience. Nescience is spelled Nescience. The definition of nescience is lack of knowledge or awareness. So now I will attempt to use nescience in the sentence. Americans' nescience of the world outside of the US is why we're still fighting for universal health care today and basic social welfare programs. Hopefully I use that sentence correctly. So if you like the video, like and subscribe, turn on your post notifications so you see more of my videos pop up, because YouTube won't show you it unless you do so. And you can also, if you'd like to help support small careers like myself, you can donate to my Patreon. It's the Patreon or buy me a coffee. I'll leave the links below and put it right here on the screen. And subscribe to my different social medias. There's YouTube, which I'm mostly on YouTube and TikTok, so subscribe to those, and anything else that you want is going to be left on the end screen. So I appreciate y'all watching, and thank you for helping me blow up, especially on TikTok, blowing up real big. I appreciate y'all a lot. So peace.
Well, I've been stacking up. Nah, really that ain't accurate, cause I just spent my whole damn advance in the past couple months just to compensate for times we ain't have enough. Ooh.